Good evening, readers. It's Tilly here from Tilly's Shelf, and I've got Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books.
We're together again, and we get to talk about books.
And we're continuing a long tradition of making videos together about Jane Austen July, which started before Roz even had her own channel on BookTube. This is how I drew her in. And we're actually near to Bath right now.
Yes.
Do you want to explain?
We're actually kind of halfway between Bath and Bristol.
Yeah, on the way to Blaise Castle, if you were to go there in a small carriage.
If you happen to be reading Northanger Abbey,
yes, and
for this Jane Austen July, and thought, ooh, Blaise Castle sounds like a good place to visit. Well, that's what we thought, so maybe we will.
Yeah.
We got a few kind of outing-y plans while we're here.
All based around the theme of Northanger Abbey. So we're not going to go to some of the lovely places that I mentioned in Persuasion, like the Gravel Walk and Laura Place and so on. We're going to be focusing on places that Catherine and Tilney go to together, like Beach and Cliff.
Yes,
yeah.
And places she goes with John Thorpe as well.
Yes, yeah, and Miss Thorpe
and where she's staying, and so we're on a Jane Austen Northanger Abbey themed outing.
And we might be a little bit limited by the weather, but it's due to rain a lot tomorrow. But if it does, we can just read instead. So we'll still be winning.
Yeah, because how's your Jane Austen July reading going?
Well, that's what we're here for this evening. We're going to do a recap of what we've done on the prompt so far. That's the plan. We'll try and stick to the plan.
She's got a plan.
I've got a plan. So
a woman with a plan.
Prompt number one is to read one of Jane Austen's major novels, which I haven't started at all. I thought I'd have almost finished rereading Northanger Abbey by the time we got to
so did I was expecting that.
Yes. So I'd done my research, but I haven't. I've not started that one. Have you?
I've started the one I'm reading, but I'm reading Pride and Prejudice this year because I'm rotating through the six, and I happened to read Northanger Abbey last year, so I can't read Northanger Abbey with the well, I have actually also just sort of dipped into it a little bit for a bit of research, but yes, on chapter 13 of Pride and Prejudice. So you Pride and Prejudice fans out there, do you know what's happening?
If you know, pause the video and leave it in the comments.
And we'll be very impressed.
Do we tell them the answer? No. You have to wait until the end of the video to find out.
Where we've got to. Oh, I'm enjoying it so much.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful story.
And the thing that I notice, I'm not a big rereader, as you know. And Jane Austen is one of the few authors that I do reread. And Jane Austen July pushes me to reread more regularly than I would otherwise.
Yeah.
And what it is getting me to appreciate is how beautifully planned her books are. Like
everything weaves together.
And everything weaves together, and everything's there for a reason. So the thing that really struck me in the beginning of Pride and Prejudice that I'm reading this time is Charlotte Lucas talks about her views about marriage, and it really makes sense of, spoiler alert, well, no, we'll be careful what we say. We assume that you know the books. Her later decision about who she marries and why, and how she considers that tolerable when Lizzie would never have contemplated it. That's foreshadowed, or
And she's an older character, and you get the sense almost that she's been planning this for a while, and she's been thinking, what is she? She's 26 or 27? 27. Yeah. She's probably, for the last few years, older for the time period.
Yes.
She's been thinking, if I get a chance, I really have to go for it. Like this, I'm only going to get a certain number of opportunities.
Yes, but also that, she's accepting that marriage for her might not be about falling in love with a husband.
Well, she quite clearly says, I'm not romantic, which you can interpret in multiple ways, but she's not looking for that. So
yes, that really struck me how Jane sets out that stall early in the book, and you could forget all about that. But she doesn't.
But
she
when
ties
you read
it
then you see.
Exactly. Which is a joy of rereading. Thank you, Jane Austen July.
And just thinking of what you said about trying to rotate through them, I've actually have some Jane Austen Julys. I've almost tried to read every single one of them, but I think I'm going to try and stagger it and go to more reading just one to two each year, so that I'm not. I don't know. Overdoing it is, you can't really overdo Jane Austen, but I want to keep them a bit special, I suppose.
Yes, and so because if you read all six, in each Jane Austen July, there's a temptation to rush through them.
Yeah.
And actually, part of why I think I noticed that particular bit, say in Pride and Prejudice this time, is because I actually was listening to the audiobook, which is if people know me and my channel, they'll know I'm a bit.
You're not an audiobook
I'm
person,
not a
really.
big audiobook person, and because I don't like other people telling me how to hear it. But when it's a book that I know really, really well, then actually hearing someone else's sort of interpretation brings a fresh element, and I'm really enjoying that.
You're listening to the Rosamund Pike one.
Rosamund Pike. She's my namesake.
Yes, it's the widely recommended version as well.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. So prompt number two is to read one of Jane Austen's shorter works.
Yes.
Have you started one?
No, and actually it's not necessarily. It's something else by her that isn't one of her major works. So I'm reading each Jane Austen July. I'm reading another chunk of Jane's letters.
Yeah.
From the
Deirdre Lefay edition.
The Deirdre Lefay.
Oh, we've got two copies of the same.
Yes. The slide. This one's mine.
And
Yes.
that one's mine.
And that one's yours. And both of us are like part way through, aren't we? And
a little bit further.
yes. I go. So I keep dipping back into
the letters.
Into the letters. Great pictures on the front, aren't they good? Yeah.
I thought I was going to be reading more of the letters this year, and I do still plan to read a couple, but actually I ended up watching the film of Love and Friendship because it's one of my husband's favourite Jane Austen adaptations, and when I said, we should watch an Austen film, he was like, let's watch Love and Friendship.
Yeah.
He actually likes it quite a lot. So I watched that, and then I thought I just really want to go back to the book and see how well it lines up. Because it's one of the later prompts anyway. So
no, absolutely. And of course, it's not Love and Friendship.
No, Love and Friendship is the name of a different work of juvenilia that they put onto
a film of Lady Susan.
Yes.
I don't know why they did that.
Well, it does fit.
Well, it kind of works.
It does fit. And I can kind of see that Lady Susan isn't a very catchy film title, and Love and Friendship kind of echoes the later titles that she went with of Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and so on. Yeah,
that's fair. And I will also read some juvenilia. I've again. Now, other people may disagree, and I know that the second half of this Jane Austen July, people are reading all of the juvenilia, I think, but I can't read loads of it in one go.
I think it's better in bits and bobs because there's a lot of discrete stories in it.
Yeah,
so,
it's more entertaining to me if I dip in and out. So I shall do another chunk of this as well.
So prompt number 3, I think, is to read a modern adaptation of a Jane Austen. We might get them out of order. We'll get all of them.
Definitely.
Or a modern retelling, whether that's set in the same time period or a retelling. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So I'm going to read The Summer of Secrets, which looks very middle grade, and I think it is. It's got quite large font and everything. And this
sort
is
of YA, I'd say, but who knows?
It looks like it's a little bit younger than YA.
No.
And this is a retelling of Northanger Abbey, which is the only reason that I bought it, because Northanger Abbey is the strong theme.
Well, now my choice is kind of goes with the Jane Austen themed outings.
Yes.
Because I've been to Kent and visited the 2 houses in Kent that she went and stayed at and knew well because they belonged to the Knight family. And that's Godmersham Park and Goodnestone.
Oh, lovely.
Both of which you can visit, both of which are gorgeous houses, much grander than the houses that Jane lived in herself and her own, that belonged to her parents. And I'm going to read Godmersham Park by Jill Hilton.
Jill Hornby.
Hornby.
Yes, yeah. Hornby. And I think it's going to be very enjoyable because
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always a bit. It's not my favourite prompt. But
I actually quite enjoy it because I think it's an opportunity to pick up quite a light read, and you can kind of pick a selection and see how people respond, and you get the opportunity to be kind of angry when they've not got it quite right.
Yeah, you're more open-minded than me about it. I think. And also, what annoys me about them is I think they're often quite kind of feel-goody. You know, the retellings, whereas
they lack the cynicism that you get in
you know, I think, you know, Jane, yes, she does have happy endings, but there's an element of risk and danger and sadness and things going wrong, you know. So I don't know, it never feels that, you know, you have that sense that like there's the Napoleonic War in the background, say, or, you know, all those.
And you have characters in almost every book that don't get good endings. Yes. Again, assuming that everyone knows, but, you know, you get Maria Bertram, you get Lydia, who, you know, she thinks she's happy at the time when she gets married, but it sounds like she doesn't have good.
Not going to be happy.
You get Fanny, I can't remember her surname, but Colonel Brandon's ward, who's, you know, got Eliza, who's got a baby out of wedlock. Yeah. So you get these characters that have difficult outcomes that are just kind of, you know that they're there. Yeah. There's a presence.
So, you know, I resent people writing kind of too happy, clappy, light,
which all of them are. Like,
but,
if you think,
but they're not all. They're not all.
If you think of like Longbourn, for instance.
True. Yeah, but that was irritating in other ways. Anyway, we won't go there this time.
Yeah, so we're better.
Move on.
So, work of non-fiction from or about the time.
I'm reading. About the time. I'm reading Jane, A Life by Claire Tomalin, and I've started it.
Oh, how's it going so far?
I started it so I could read a bit about Steventon, and her birth and so on, because as part of my Jane Austen outing that we're doing, on the way to get to Bath, I went to visit Steventon in Hampshire.
And I'm very jealous because my route didn't take me via Steventon.
Because you weren't coming from the same direction.
So if you go over to Roz's channel, you can see some short videos filmed in Steventon where she's pointing out.
Little mini videos, one at the site of the rectory where she was born and lived the first year of his life, and one of the church where her father was the rector or vicar. Funny English names for, you know, parish priest. And where she would have gone twice every Sunday. She was baptised there. Yeah. So big part of her life. So yeah.
Lovely. What a delight.
It was.
I am most of the way through now British Dandies.
I'm
really sorry, I've torn the cover and I don't even know when it happened.
It's all right.
This book is, I mean, it's actually signed to you, I think. So I've actually damaged your book. Yeah, to Roz, my very best. So it's not just Jane Austen's time period. It covers from the 1700s up till kind of just after the end of the Victorian era. And it looks at macaronis, dandies and aesthetes, which were three different kind of eras of men's fashionable dress. And actually, I think although we saw him do the talk, I didn't fully kind of understand that really this book it's called British Dandies. The subtitle is Engendering Scandal and Fashioning a Nation, but really it's 300 years of gay fashion, which is fantastic.
Brilliant. I look forward to all the more.
Retrospectively gay fashion, as in like that wasn't exactly the concept that they had, but kind of tracing these characters and saying, well, you know, we kind of know that they didn't fit into sort of the heteronormative views of the time, and this is what they were wearing in that situation. And I've been really enjoying it, but it's a bit more academic than I was expecting.
Right.
So I get the feeling he is a professor in a university, Dominic Janes, professor of modern history at Keele University, and I just have the feeling that every now and then his students are set a chapter of this book. So it kind of it reads a bit more like something you'd reference in an essay almost. Yeah. Although it is quite easy to read.
And does Beau Brummel
feature? Beau Brummel is mentioned, and also our very favourite, where's he gone?
Because I only asked because obviously he was key in making Bath such a destination. A destination.
We also have, if I can ever find the picture of him, I can't. Byron, who was obviously a big character in the time. That's Oscar Wilde next to him, but yeah, Byron with his fancy turban there.
Woohoo.
And I just wanted to point out this one,
Yes.
A Man of Feeling, because it's kind of like, apart from the pose, it is kind of my vision of like Tilney or something.
Yes.
It's just like kind of quite soberly dressed, but with this just nice, what do you call it? Cravat.
Yes.
Just showing a little bit of flair.
Yeah.
Style. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yes, I could definitely.
You can picture
It's definitely an Austen hero type. Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So
that was 4 book prompts so far, and 1 book from her time period.
yes, and again, I've just started dipping into this, but not much. I'm reading
Lovely copy.
I'm reading a bit of Keats. Yeah, just to because poems
Poems are nice.
are good.
I have ordered The Monk by, is it Matthew Lewis?
For the Northanger Abbey
because it fits with
connection.
the and obviously I've already read Mysteries of Udolpho and The Romance of the Forest, which are 2 other ones that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But it hasn't arrived yet, and it's been like 3 weeks, and I ordered it from a second-hand bookshop online, so I'm wondering whether it might not come.
So you might have to
I
read
might have to dip into some Keats.
some Keats, or I might reread as well some Cooper, because that was
Yes, I've got Cooper. Cooper's in the
because I
Jane
saw
Austen
you
bookshelf.
brought it with you.
It's not mentioned in Northanger Abbey though.
No, but it was Jane's favourite poem.
Yeah.
So you know.
So, good. And then we have 2 watching prompts, just to quickly
Yes.
mention. Have you watched any Jane Austen
No.
films yet? Not
No,
yet.
no, and they're my other less favourite.
Right.
Prompts.
You're less bothered.
I'm a
about the
reader
watching.
rather than a watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You've read. You've
actually,
watched.
I've watched a couple because
Yes.
my husband quite likes watching the adaptations.
Why not?
And it's like a nice thing that we can do together. So he also gets some Jane Austen in July. And we watched Northanger Abbey 2007, just before July started actually. And I brought it with us so we can watch it this weekend if you want to, just for research.
Yeah,
It's really interesting because I've watched it enough times now that I can notice some of the details. And it's interesting to see the difficulty they had filming in Bath. Like almost everything is filmed on the same small stretch where obviously there's not too much modern stuff.
Yes.
And Love and Friendship. And it's interesting because just the other day I was watching the video where Kelly and Jason debate the best adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
And Jason makes all these arguments about how the 2005 film is better because it puts an original spin on it and it's a work of art, and actually that's complete nonsense. But if you want to see an Austen adaptation that fits into a film period but still manages to put its own spin on the story and its own kind of bring its own character into it, I think those 2 are very good examples. Because the Northanger Abbey brings in these vivid imaginations that Catherine has. You get scenes of her kind of like being like kidnapped on horseback and stuff that fits in with this topic.
So it uses the cinematic medium to
bring to life her imagination.
Her vivid imagination. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's true.
And Love and Friendship as well. It's just beautifully filmed. It's got little details like at the start. Lady Susan, obviously she's a widow, and she starts in this beautiful like full widow outfit, and then by the end she's wearing like bright red because she's completely shed that widow image in a very inappropriate way. So I loved the way those 2 films.
And for an epistolary novel, a novel of letters, that like it flipped it into film really effectively.
And actually rereading it, it's been interesting to see how they worked out how to put lines from the letters into something that a character would say, because sometimes they needed to sort of fit that in, and they worked it in a marvellous way.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah.
And the final prompt is to watch a modern setting
of Austen.
Austen, and if I do that at all, I usually watch a bit of one of the online fun.
We watched the first 2 episodes of Northbound, which is the Northanger Abbey version.
Yeah.
But so far it didn't really grab us.
Didn't grab you.
So instead we watched, I don't know if you've heard of Fire Island.
No.
Film made in 2022. It's available on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And it is you wouldn't believe that it's possible from the premise.
Yeah.
But it's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice over a time span of a week, where all of the characters, instead of it being a family of Bennett sisters, it's like a found family of gay best friends, and they go to this resort, Fire Island, every year to stay with their mum on the island, who's got a house there, and she tells them she's going to have to sell the house. You know, financial calamity. They're never going to be able to do this again. This is their last week on Fire Island, and it's fantastic. It actually really, like, you wouldn't think it would be possible to get Pride and Prejudice into sort of like 7 days or something, but it works because the stakes aren't so high. It's more like looking for a kind of casual short-term relationship rather than looking for the love of your life. But you do get kind of like romantic feels, and you get the character who is, instead of Jane, is called Howie, and he's looking for a bit more, something a bit more romantic. And then the Lizzie character is called Noah, and he's kind of just more looking for a kind of like a fling, and it kind of like it just fits really, really well, and it's a very good modernisation of it. I would say, although I highly recommend it, I would say not recommend it if you're not comfortable watching a film that involves gay sex, because I think it is 18 rated, or like it's open. You know what I'm just saying.
It's got sex scenes.
It's got sex scenes.
Okay, well, that's nice. Well, there could be younger people watching this.
Yeah, that I just wanted to mention. Yeah. And also use of drugs. But it's so much fun. It's so entertaining, and it also captures some of the cynicism and some of the like that we were talking about earlier. Some of the kind of like darker aspects.
Right, rather than just making it all cuddly and pink.
Yeah.
Splendid.
So it was great fun.
Wow.
And I'll probably watch another modern adaptation at some point.
Yeah. So we're getting with our prompts. We're going to have a weekend of little outings and visits, and pop up some little films from that. And you've got a few other plans in mind for videos.
Yeah, we might do some more discussion.
So
have a nice weekend.
Have a good weekend, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah. And thanks always to the hosts, Katie at Books and Things, Claudia at Spencer's Library, and Marissa at Blatantly Bookish. A channel name that I always struggle to pronounce.
Which I sympathise with entirely, because scallydandling about the books, people always trip over that when they say it.
Okay, let us know what you're reading as well in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, and chapter 13 of Pride and Prejudice. Mr. Collins is arriving.
That's yes.
That's the answer.
That's the answer.